Hello, friends. A warm welcome to you in this Joy, Clarity, and Success podcast. Today, our conversation is with Mr. Tarun Kishnani. He is the Chief Strategic and Innovation Leader in L&TI MindTree. So, he's basically a person whom I have known as being at the crossroads of multiple industries. He is into investment banking. He knows about capital markets. He knows about tech. He's in MSIT. The aspect that I find most astonishing about Mr. Tarun Kishnani is that even after playing so many pivotal roles in so many MNCs, he has been able to keep alive within himself a juvenile youthfulness and an incredible inclination towards various aspects of spirituality or spiritual life, which I find is incredible in a way. So, this discussion ended up being about a range of topics, starting from childhood life, grooming in youth, the doubts of a youth, and how a youth can overcome those doubts to create an incredible career at the cross sections of capital markets, investment banking, and tech industries. And apart from that, above all, this has also been a discussion about spirituality and spiritual life. So, friends, here we introduce Mr. Tarun Kishnani. Let's get on with it. Namaskar, Tarunji. A very warm welcome to you. So, how are you?
Namaskar and thank you so much for having me. This is a great time to be here recording and hearing, from you. And thank you so much for inviting me to share some of my background and to share some of my thoughts on what is looking to be a fantastic conversation around joy, clarity, and of course success.
Yes, and that also with the background of AI and tech with it. So, I think a lots of material to be discussed today and lots of fun we are going to have today. So, Tarunji, I was very fascinated looking at your career graph. That fascinated me a lot to begin with. So, I would want to start with that aspect that a very young guy like you who has taken very significant responsibilities in multiple significant companies which have background in India, and you are right now one of the significant strategic members in one of the very significant technological companies based out of India and also operating in Europe and USA. So I just wanted to understand how that path came along in your career, how you prepared for it, what got you there, and also if a youngster is getting inspired from your career path, how he or she can prepare to, emulate that and achieve that kind of success.
Thank you so much for that question. And while these companies are all very significant in terms of revenues and in terms of their client bases, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I have definitely not planned my career. It has all happened to me by I think God's grace, luck, and I think some hard work, because there is absolutely no success without some labor or some form of hard work. So in that sense, I think I've been very, very lucky. To give you a little bit of background, I grew up in Mumbai in a middle class family, and I've had very much the same old middle class sort of values, which are of education and of grades and of having values and ethics and principles. And usually it also is a very God fearing kind of environment. And I'm born to a family where my father is a rank holder chartered accountant. My mother is a lawyer. Through all of these years, all they said was, learn, be a good human being. And that is what I sort of have tried to practice. But through my childhood, I do remember significantly that that I've had the very good fortune of seeing my great grandmothers, both of them, and to be able to sort of not just play with them, but also to be able to sort of hear stories from them. And they are born in the late 1880s, 1890s. So to be able to go four generations back and to be able to listen to their stories of both the wars, and also the struggle of freedom from the colonial past of India, and partition, and that great migration, um, and the stories that came along with it. So much so that that was my initial sort of fodder,
Source of
if you will.
inspiration, you can say.
Absolutely. And this was all happening in the early 90s, okay, 1990s. And this is 91, 92. And I was 3 or 4 years old. And this is when the Ramayana Mahabharata series were also being first broadcast on TV. And I remember there was a ritual that my great grandmothers followed before they sort of would watch these shows. And it kind of fascinated me because I was running around the house as a child trying to, like, just be a child. But they would sort of, and I remember this categorically, that they would sort of pray and sit down in front of a television with their hands folded, almost like they were getting to witness God. These are some of the things I came up with. And sort of I have this very white memory of, like, light in my head, which is sort of very light and very loving environment as a childhood. So I think I'm blessed, in that sense, in and I have, like, immense amount of gratitude to be born in a house like this, where you get to sort of have the blessings of your elders, to be able to sort of be able to receive their stories, and sort of work from there, and that has that I feel like, Aditya, that has had, like, significant impact on my next steps and my journey from there.
Right.
So much so that and now I'll just jump straight to because I've spoken a lot about my early childhood, but about my teens, right? In my teens, I think I was even fortunate enough to play sport, and got to really enjoy sort of playing squash. Played squash for lots of clubs, and also played with back then India number one. And he was in fact my trainer for a lot many number of years, until 10th grade happened. And then my parents were like, listen, you got to really focus on these grades. You can't be wasting your time playing sport. And 11th and 12th happened, and then I just gave up playing completely. That kind of was a bummer, because it really gave me um it gave me a lot of, like, insight, and sport was something that I really enjoyed back then. um the only time I had fun, I believe, in those times, were summer vacations. And these are actually, I think it's summer vacations as we record in India now. And I always say that my mother is my greatest cheerleader and motivator, and she ensured that I spent most of my summers going to either doing theater, doing some
Okay.
stand up, or even singing, in front of an audience. And I promise you, I'm a terrible singer. But I think mothers love to sort of hype their kids up, right? um, and so this really threw something this threw like stage fear completely away from me, you know. um and yeah, I think the biggest sort of change sort of happened to me at the age of 16. Okay. When my father started to teach me about financial markets. And he used to bring back every day these pink papers, which was the Economic Times, the Business Standards, and these magazines which were by then I think fortnightly or weekly. And this is now just after the dot-com bubble, and 2002, 2003, 2004 has arrived. And I've started to develop interest in reading The Economist, the Forbes magazine, the Dalal Street Investment Journal. I don't know. I mean, I was somehow fascinated with, so the Dalal Street Investment Journal was a sort of, or rather, I don't know if it's still in circulation in India, but probably is. It's at the end of the pages, right? You have all the names of the companies that were listed with their current market price, their market capitalization, their price to equity, their earnings per share, and their growth rates, even probably some other matrices like ROE and ROIC, which I don't want to go into. But I used to literally have them on my bedside and be looking at them and flipping through them while going to bed. So this is essentially my dose of reading. Okay. And of course there was no way I was ever going to write the JEE or the NEET or any of those exams, right? And somehow in that era, Aditya, it was I had already sort of made it a point that I want to go towards equity markets or financial markets. And so my father was guiding me and my parents were both guiding me. And they said, listen, why don't you take this aptitude test, to realize what your aptitude is, what your skills are. And I think that's a complete fail, The aptitude tests are a fail. They're not really great to tell you what your purpose is and what your soul food is. So I did these aptitude tests which said, oh, you should take up engineering and become a man of science and focus on that. And so I wrote some form of a common entrance test or a CET to get into engineering school in Mumbai. Okay, and I was like, I'm not even, the offers that I had was 1 or 2 colleges in Mumbai and then some regional colleges in the interior of Maharashtra. I was like, I'm not leaving the comforts of my home. I am going to stay and go to, whatever college accepts me in Mumbai and whatever course. And went to study engineering. And in engineering school, I am sitting in a class for electromagnetic wave theory, but I have my Economist magazine open and I'm sitting and reading that. So it was really kind of a
Dichotomy.
complete dichotomy. Okay. And the problem was that the structure back then used to be engineering, MBA, CFA, and you have the best investment banking job in the market. You are probably going to be with JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley in Maharashtra, in Mumbai, and you will be going to Nariman Point. You will wear fancy suits. You will eat at some of the best restaurants for lunch with clients, and then and drinks with your colleagues. And this would be a Monday to Friday until Kingdom came and you became a managing director and you had no hair left on your head, and you have lost all your you have pretty much lost all your self-respect, cause in this you have sold your soul through all of this. And it's kind of what it is. You do make a lot of money doing all of this. There's nothing wrong with that. It does help you become a good professional. You also sort of network with the biggest CEOs in the business.
Right.
And somehow I think the other parallel track while all of this is happening is that my dad is now in my late teens and early 20s. He's become chairman of multiple committees of the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, FICCI. He ran as CFO of India's largest cement company for a while. And then, he had become into a sort of a taxation guru of sorts. And he's sort of advanced in his career. And so, he is sitting down with the who's who of the, the corporate world. And somehow those are the stories that are at the dinner table for me and my mom, who's also, a lawyer, who by then had sort of realized that her son is going nowhere in his career. And so she has given up her great corporate job to sit down and ensure that I get through my engineering. And Aditya, I can tell you, and if any of my batchmates ever listen to this, or any of my friends who knew me back then listen to this, they will be like, yeah, what a struggle that guy had graduating through even his engineering days. So people who know me in my 20s will definitely resonate with what I'm saying. And it was a challenge, but as and the reason why I had to tell you all of this, and I've spent a good amount of time talking about myself now, and it's a bit of it's a bit of a shame that you have to talk so much about yourself when you have to tell your story as to how you became to be where you are. And the truth is that I saw this as regular people. And I always was able to write to people who were CEOs, CXOs, and that was essentially a grooming that I had at home. So I think that is what I meant by getting lucky. By getting lucky is also being at the right place at the right time, and being told at an early age that this is possible. Cause the art of possible, okay, even though it may be significantly difficult to do or achieve, but when you have been told, oh, it's within reach, you do it, right? And so essentially, my first job out of I went to through my engineering days, I went to intern with Ernst & Young, trying to see if consulting was my calling. Realized absolutely no, because the number of hours those guys were putting in behind the desk trying to crunch all these Excel sheets and then present on the fly to clients, and I was able to sort of sit through those meetings. And this is all happening at 19, 20 for me, and I'm seeing all of this, and I'm like, no way am I going to a consulting career. No way is this happening for me anymore. So I've shut my doors to anything engineering. I have, now in my final year of engineering, all my batchmates are sitting through campus placements for Infosys, TCS, Wipro, the likes, you may say it, who's who. And I'm like, no way am I going to work for technology as a software engineer, because I can't write code for nuts. Okay, that's definitely, I can be trained on it. I may have written a Hello World program, but I've limited myself to being a Hello World programmer only. Beyond that, I don't think I have any more strength or capability. And so I decided I want to go to the financial markets. And I am now already trading my own personal book, my own personal money, in the equity markets. And I get hired as the algorithmic trader because I'm an engineer. So they will hire me to write code for trading. I get hired as an algo trader. within, and this is a company which has sort of survived as a proprietary book through the global financial crisis of 2007-8, and this is now is in 2010. And within 7-8 months, I'm like, I need something else. So I meet my manager then from ICICI, who hired me to come work within the corporate development and strategy team with him. And incidentally, he was then reporting into who is today India's SEBI chair, a woman by the name of Miss Madhvi Puri Butch. And my first interaction with her was obviously this. I was this young kid who was making this presentation to her in on the top floor of ICICI Securities in South Bombay, and she's having her soup while listening to what I'm saying, and my boss is sitting there, and 2 minutes into the presentation she stops me. She stops having her soup, and she looks at my boss and she's like, why did you hire such an idiot to sort of come and make this presentation? So that is my first impression of her. Complete smack on the face, kind of sort of but much needed, because you come saying overconfident things without really having any basis or any scientific evidence and you can't be doing that in any place and form. So basically went through multiple roles within ICICI until come 2013, when they said, look, we want to build a business in Hong Kong. Will you sort of help build that, or will you sort of be interested in going to work there? And so now, middle of 2013, I have moved from Mumbai to Hong Kong, where when I'm spending 2 weeks in Hong Kong, 2 weeks in Mumbai, I'm shuttling between the two cities, literally, because and this is pre-umbrella revolution, pre-orange, orange umbrella movement, which is basically the movement before the Chinese party sort of was coming into Hong Kong, and in that sort of time, right, there was still a lot of asset managers or institutional money managers, or as we call FIIs, foreign institutional investors, and they were the client base that I was working with. And so these FIIs essentially had multiple multiple large foreign investors by the names of the Fidelities of the world, the Capitals of the world, the Wellingtons of the world, and then there are a whole host of hedge funds which I was sort of responsible for covering. And Hong Kong literally is a very you get the smallest houses, right? Literally, if you have if you have a 80 square foot 70 square foot bathroom, that is the size of your studio, which a normal person will rent for lots of money. Okay, so I kind of hated living in that small place, but the good thing was I was living the outdoor life. So when you live in Hong Kong, you're pretty much like, during the day, or either meeting clients, or you're working on your pitch, or you're at lunch, or so on and so forth, or you're going to the gym or something like that, and in the evenings you're up and about again, so you only go back to sleep. But for my case, it was, I would go back to sleep, I wouldn't even do my laundry, because I was a prince, and I'm like, I am too lazy to do my laundry. So I'd fly back on Cathay Pacific on a Friday night to do laundry in Mumbai at my parents' at Saturday, Sunday in Mumbai, and then do meetings in the ICICI office through the week, or Monday to Friday, and then fly back the next Friday to Hong Kong and do that on a fly. I was doing this.
This was how long?
Literally, this was from 2013 all the way to the middle of 2015. So almost a good period of 2 years.
2 years.
And yeah, and within this period, Aditya, I was also tasked with opening up a new region, which was Taiwan, because that is where the Taiwanese were just starting to invest into India in 2010-11, and then some newer funds were sort of emerging out of there. And so, traveling to these places, the two things that I did was excessive partying, excessive amount of, and one story which I must share is and this has lived with me, is that one of my large clients then was old Irish gentleman, and he and I would not recommend anyone to consume any alcohol. I wouldn't recommend anyone party at all, like the way this gentleman told me. It's bad advice, it's wrong advice, and alcohol is poison and it's bad for you. So period. But I'll still tell you, he told me that the right way to enjoy the Hong Kong life was to start at 4 p.m. with a scotch and some beer. So you basically have a little bit of scotch, and then you chase it down with beer like it's water, and you do that until you're ready for what they call a massage while doing business. So you take your clients to massage parlors. That's where you talk stock, and that's what will be potentially the name that they will either buy or sell in the market the next day into India. So it was that culture, it was that sort of background, it was that kind of life. And so, in the middle of 2015, I kind of get bored of doing this. And I'm like, this is too much and it's kind of nonsense, because I'm like shuttling between two places, and these FIIs, they don't really listen to some 20-year-old Johnny. All they care about is, how they can generate alpha. And through all of this, Aditya, I'm thinking potentially I will learn about 5 stocks that I will make money on. But somehow when you are in this business of selling to clients, you can't buy and sell stock yourself because you have a fiduciary responsibility. And so my hands are tied. I can see stocks are moving, I can see prices are moving, I can see why and who is also buying, I can see the action, but I can't do anything. And there are enough and more examples of people taking the route of doing stuff on other people's accounts. And globally this kind of practices are afar, and they are lots of people do it. And and I've been approached a lot of times also by lots of kind of different participants in the world to sort of offer them this insight. But I think the luck, Aditya, has only favored me, is because I've chosen to follow certain principles and certain ethics. And somehow I think I have to thank my parents and my family for giving me those values, right? When you grow up in a household where all taxes are paid, you don't have any sort of illegal income, you have never had any sort of IRS notice or any kind of notice from the tax authorities. And generally that is not your story, right? Why would you want to sort of for money, why would you want to sort of spoil your name and reputation? So that was a good sort of exercise. And so by now I'm bored, okay, in middle of 2015. So I have come back to Mumbai. I'm sitting in front of my manager and I am telling him, look, I am done and I am quitting, because I want to travel and backpack through Europe. And everyone and I'm now, by now I'm almost like 26, 27. and I've had enough of this drama, and I'm going. So he's like, but what are you gonna do? I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna travel through Europe, and I'm gonna enjoy the last of my 20s of what is remaining, because this is what it's all about. And so he says, look, don't resign. He was a he's rather a fatherly figure. He still talks to me. I love him. He's been someone who has mentored my career. He says, listen, don't resign. Take a leave, travel wherever you want to, and come back. And I said, come back to what? Come back to this same life? He's like, no, come back and we'll work something out.
Okay.
So I take this, and I take this, this supposedly was supposed to be 6 months of backpacking, because that's the money I've saved, has been cut short now for some 40-45 days, because that's the only leaves I have remaining, and they won't bend the rules for some guy. So I've come back in 45 days, and as I'm back, he says, look, we would like for you to go and work in our New York office, and work with the clients, similar clients, foreign institutional investors, in that market. And somehow I'm like, and to be frank, Aditya, until this moment, I am like, I don't want to live. I want to travel overseas, but I don't want to live overseas. I want to live in my parents' house. I want to have the comfort of living with my parents, because I love them and they love me. And I love Mumbai and all my family is around. I'm not going anywhere. But this New York, Dalal Street to Wall Street kind of movement was way too tempting. I could not. There was no way in any sort of situation I could have said no. It was an offer that I could not resist at all. In that sense. So I take this up, and now I have landed up in the middle of January of late December, early Jan 2016. First time in the peak of winter, a Mumbai boy who has absolutely no idea what the brutal winter looks like, who has never lived away for long periods of time, who used to do only 2 weeks up and down between Hong Kong and Mumbai, and now he suddenly left the continent and gone overseas, which is, and once you go to the US, you can't come back to Mumbai every 2 weeks. That's not possible. You may do that once in a quarter, which I still do, by the way, but it's not possible to do every other weekend. So here I am, never washed my laundry, never done my dishes, never cooked any food, focused a whole bunch on. Because I've sort of had always had the privilege of people coming to serve me, and somehow that is the luck part, as you may. So but the good thing that I had through all the tips, if you may, and the tricks, if you may, have been all about sort of keeping your values and ethics in place, enjoying every moment of your time. So say for example, in my childhood, I really enjoyed playing sport. I was high on endorphins. In my in my learning phase, I read through whatever I wanted to learn. I was reading sort of informally, not formally, learning also informally, learning on the job, learning from my clients, and I may say all of this, but I was also getting paid really well, right? It's a high paying job, because you do lots of these transactions, and you work through a lot of these client base, and somehow money was never of an issue. I always had resources, and I was I don't think I ever had a moment where I had to think, oh, I can't spend money on certain things, especially given that most people's experience when they travel abroad, especially to a place like US from India, is of, oh, I've had to struggle, I've had to go through work through a McDonald's, or like do a kind of a job which is serving as a waiter, or all of those, because most people come as students. But I came I was given something called, I was given a job, and I was given money to move, right? So to be set up, to have a house, to set up in the middle of Manhattan, I was given money. So I never found any of these lack of resources. And somehow through this journey, right? And just to add to where I am, right? This is now 2016. I did this from 2016 all the way until 2021. The middle of 2021, almost late of 2021. And in those 6 years, I had the opportunity of taking more than 50 companies public in India, to interact and network with a whole host of CEOs, especially because they would come to the US and I would be their point of contact. I would travel with them across the US, make them meet with the kind of investors who are investing money in these companies. And somewhere, in my estimate is, I have raised anywhere between $2.5 to $3 billion for Indian markets. And I got rewarded handsomely for it, in that sense. So I have to thank all my all the people who gave me this opportunity. The CEO of ICICI Securities, then in fact, so much so that I had the privilege of taking the other group companies of ICICI also public. And incidentally, my current employer also through an IPO process. So it's been quite a bit of a journey, if you may.
I don't know if this
I
helps
think
answer
I think you
tips
have
and tricks.
been, yeah, you have been too, I would say, too grounded in your answer, because you counted so many of your, like, uh, juvenile mistakes that one makes. You highlighted so many of them, but you did not emphasize that the tremendous amount of success that you brought to these companies, which we can obviously see from your profile graph, that you must have delivered tremendously well for you to be there. So anyways, thanks for being there, and thanks for providing India with so much capital. I must say that you have been a great contributor in that aspect. Also, one aspect regarding this only I would like to add to it, which is basically, those who are successful treat success in one way. In terms of parentage or in terms of peers, I am talking about this. Those, you have been with parents who have been successful. Now I would go into a serious discussion regarding this only. We are seeing in thousands children from India committing suicides, just because they are not able to handle pressure from their parents or peer pressures or whatever is happening out there. And not everybody is in a position that they can handle their own success, or it may be they have not been successful, they want to be successful through their children, and that kind of situation happens in many cases. So if, and many children come out of that phase also with shining colors, and many such incidents also happen where we hear news, saddest kind of news, that suicides have happened. 12-year-old, 18-year-old, 16-year-olds are committing this in large numbers in India, especially because of this, especially for this academic thing. So for a kid of, say, for a kid of 16, if you compare your position with somebody who is in not that kind of a helpful situation, what kind of suggestions would you give that kid so that he can handle that peer situation also and come out with shining colors in career also? So if you could speak about that.
Sure, and I completely agree with you, because that is a real issue, right? And I'll give you an example of one of my engineering batchmates. Okay, he he is now my colleague. Okay, in the current company that I work with at LTI MindTree. Um, uh, but the funny part is that when we were in college, his father was a sole breadwinner, and he was a waiter in a restaurant, like someone who does service or waiter in a restaurant. And to there's nothing wrong in sort of serving society. It's what you want to do or meant to do. But the ability of the man to fight all odds and to sort of be able to smile through that. Okay, he was a first ranker in my class. Okay, he in my head he was already a winner even then, because to be able to reach there, and today to be able to be in a position where you are sort of, you have sort of beat all the odds, and you have broken a generational sort of I won't call it a curse, but you've sort of broken the generational bounds and made it to a different class within society, is the real story of India rising from its lower income to middle income and higher. Now, while what you're saying, it looks great from someone who has had luck by its side, but my only wish and and request to anyone who is in that sort of position today would be to tell people that, look, grades matter, yes. Your education matters, yes. What your parents tell you matter, yes. But what matters most is a balance of having your health, your sanity, and then growing from there. Because you can get so easily bogged down by the pressures of society and start to have mental disbalance, and because of that mental disbalance you tend to take steps that are not correct. And isme na, and I'll just jump a little bit into the aspect which I have sort of learned over the course of the years, and diving and learning from some of the masters, some of the great spiritual masters, and also learning from our oldest texts, right? Your bal avastha, which is your early part, is meant for you to enjoy your life. Okay, you are meant to play, you are meant to be high on endorphins. Okay, you can be anyone, and you could really enjoy that part of your childhood. And because really speaking, right, between after you come to the ages of between 0 to 7 is when you are having the most amount of neurogenesis. Okay, what is neurogenesis? Neurogenesis is the creation of new neurons in your head. Okay, between the ages of 11 and 25, which is your, it's not your childhood anymore, it's your adolescence, it's your brahmacharya, is when you're having the peak of neuroplasticity. What is neuroplasticity? Neuroplasticity is basically when you can connect all of these neurons that are in your head, and you are connecting them. This is a great period for you to pursue knowledge. This is a great period for you to balance release of endorphins and balance the release of dopamine. Okay, and then you sort of come to the next part of your life, which is the middle age of grihastha, right? And this is where you really have responsibilities. You start a family, you release something called, you release oxytocin through your childhood and your adolescence, but this is when oxytocin really comes to the fore. And and dopamine and oxytocin are both sort of a dynamic, play a dynamic role in this part of your life, because this is, you are given dopamine by the rewards of creating wealth, of saving that wealth, of oxytocin, of forming these variety of relationships and bonds. So this is also a very good way to challenge the stresses of this active and dynamic life. So in a nutshell, if you realize every stage of your life, you have to sort of have to live that moment to the fullest, because we tend to not emphasize that as Indian parents. And I'm not a parent, so I'm definitely not in a good position to comment. But I have been a child, and I have seen, and I'm seeing my friends and my cousins and all of my family members raising children, and all that I know is that if you let the child do what they are supposed to do in the age that they are in, and not interfere, and you give them love, ideas, education. By education I mean books to read, knowledge to gather, experiences to have. I think you are doing great service by just that, because the minute you start imposing your life onto anyone else, that is when you're calling on real disaster. And I think as a society we need to think about it as a collective, not just one parent or an individual, on how much that emphasis needs to be made on grades versus how much that emphasis needs to be made on holistic learning. So I don't know if I was able to articulate to this very well, but my whole idea is that for a child, or for a young teenager today, right? Because I'm sure anyone who is 15 to 25 who's actually listening to this today, right? You probably have the greatest opportunity of a lifetime, cause it is you who are actually going to see the biggest dividend of India becoming a sort of a much more mature economy, if you may. And it is within your lifetimes that you will have India becoming a $4 trillion economy today, if you like, into a 10 trillion and a $12 trillion economy, and maybe more, and maybe 20 trillion into the late 2040s. We still don't know. It's too hard to predict what will happen so far out. But having said that, this is the greatest opportunity ever, and the best part is the greatest technologies are today available mass, right? It is available mass. What was first limited to just say Silicon Valley, or what was limited to large corporations, that kind of technology is available at mass. Formal education, if you may, or may not, is not really going to define how the future looks like. You can do very, very, very well in life by taking care of your health, your mental balance, by having the right kind of environment at home. And this can start with you, because I can tell you that after a while, as a child, your role reverses. You start parenting your parents, and this will happen to everyone, and it will happen to, and to be frank, I am somehow um, I'm somehow taken to this to this saying, very very famous saying, and and it's Rumi, who's one of the greatest poets, philosophers, if you may, and just humor me for a second. It is, when I was clever, I wanted to change the world. When I became wise, I decided to work on myself. So everyone including Shah Rukh Khan, including Narendra Bhai Modi, including Elon Musk, including Bill Gates, have problems. It's just that they choose to work on themselves every day. And trust me, you are so close to solving all your problems. It's literally like a matter of time. And Aditya, my friend here, he's a CFA tutor, and so he understands the power of compounding probably better than anyone, and probably he's teaching this in his program. I'm assuming you are teaching this in your program. But the law of compounding really sort of plays out, because if you choose to become 1% better every day, right, before you know it, a year has passed and 2 years have passed, and you are significantly better. If you feel like your parents don't understand you, don't worry, you are not the first one who thinks that way. I have told you my story here. I've been incredibly lucky, and I know there have been people who've been luckier and who've had all kinds of other things, and so on and so forth. But even I felt the same, that my parents never understood me. Okay, even I've had the same battles, even I've been the same emotional wreck. I've done the same mistakes. And I am telling you today, from the mistakes of my past, that in a few years, none of this will matter. In a few years, your grades won't matter. But what will matter is your balance, your ability to show up every day, your ability to do difficult things, and your ability to say, hey, look, this is a problem. How do I find a solution to it? And if you can't find a solution to it, there are enough and more people out there who will be very happy to guide you and take you to the right place, to the right thought process. And definitely, ending your life is not the answer. There are enough and more stories of tremendously successful people who have had a very very troubled childhood, including the richest man in the world today. If you read Elon Musk's autobiography and you read his stories or biography, you will realize that he's had a extremely troubled childhood, but because he had the capability to face it, he moved to education, to learning, to books, which again makes him, and he was able to absorb all of that knowledge, gives him the capability to be such a rock star and superstar that he is today. So don't ever lose hope, and trust me, you have it within you to sort of change your life.
I think that was a great share from yourself. I think your career exemplifies that formal education and grades are not the last thing. There is a lot of possibilities, and if you are an open human being, opportunities come to you like flood.
That's true.
So Tarunji, I would like to move on to the next section of our discussion. We are having, I think I am enjoying the discussion a lot. I don't know about how much you are enjoying. I am really getting a lot of inputs from your insights and like to continue to do so. So a few other questions I had regarding the specific domain that we are in and the specific trending discussion of the day, which is artificial intelligence and its plethora of dimensions and impact of each of its dimensions. So the first question that I'd like to ask you, how do you think AI is impacting the current employment scenario vis-a-vis the future of the current IT companies? So simply speaking, who is getting impacted more, the employees or the IT companies themselves?
Um. So just so that I am very clear on why I'm commenting on this today is because first of all, in 2021, I had a massive change of heart, and I had to sort of leave my financial services career, and I decided to reskill. So I got a master's here in the US, an MS in information technology, IT, and through that, while I was through that course, was when OpenAI released its first GPT, or the first iteration of GPT. And so I've had the good fortune of sort of using that while I was studying in a formal program. And today I work for a IT services business, LTI MindTree, and we are a merged entity between Larsen and Toubro Group and MindTree, and this merger happened about 18 months back. I don't specifically want to comment on IT services, cause that will not be appropriate, and this what I am suggesting or what I am sharing as a view here is my own personal view, and it does not reflect that of my employer.
Okay.
My employer is listed in India. It is a $20 billion market cap company, and I am definitely not one of the spokesperson for it. But I am an industry watcher, and I spend a lot of my time now meeting with technology leaders across North America, across startup founders in India, whom I've had a good fortune of meeting and collaborating with. The one thing I will tell you is that this is probably going to be a greater opportunity than it is a much bigger opportunity than a threat. And there was a meme which I saw recently, and it's a fantastic meme. It goes to show the power of AI. It says, I wanted AI to do my vessels and do my laundry, but instead it writes my code and writes like my speeches. So trust me, that wish is about to be granted, because along with AI, there are other technological revolutions which are coming to the fore, and we're all seeing that. We're seeing that with robotics. We are seeing that with the drone technology. We are seeing that with digital ledger technology. We are seeing that with coming together of the energy revolution, and the availability of new age CPU stroke GPU stroke processing units, or rather, or if I may take it a step further, then the ability to move away from binary 0 1 to quantum into an era which is sort of which is, which I don't think I can do any justice in sort of describing in words, because it is a wait and watch. It is not something that there have been lots of people who have articulated to it. There are lots of movies to it. There are lots of documentaries to it. So there's enough and more documented evidence, but from that perspective, but I definitely feel like this is a huge opportunity, and it is definitely a bigger opportunity for an individual, and an individual who is associated with a company, even as likewise even there, because I can tell you, working within a technology services company, if you have good idea about how about how the technology works, be it large language models, be it retrieval augmentation and generation, be it even as much as the right kind of prompts, or being able to sort of prompt the model, you will be surprised that your productivity is enhanced. Now, what do I mean by that? What it really means is that today, I spend a lot of my time as a business development, marketing, sales, strategy person, putting together notes, putting together emails, putting together presentations. Although I have a team to help me with it, you can enhance that by sort of simple queries and simple searches. So things that took me 3 hours, 4 hours, and this is the real answer, right? The things that took me 4 hours to do, I can now do that within an hour. So I have cut down 4 hours to an hour to 20 minutes. So I am essentially sort of and the world's largest bank is JP Morgan, and the CEO of JP Morgan is a gentleman called Mr. Jamie Dimon. He's a very celebrated banker, and he's known for his risk management capabilities. And I will quote him here, and he says that we are moving towards a world where you will have a 4-day work week, and it is sort of becoming more and more of a reality. So what are we moving towards? We are moving towards a renaissance of newly generated art, culture, and some extremely free thinking ways of doing things. Like, say, for example, if you see the first sort of AI, which is, there was a game called not GoPro. There's a game called, there's a game, which I have never played that game, but AI was made to play that game in the 1997-98 era, and it's like chess. It's a strategy game. I can't remember the name, but
You're talking about AlphaGo?
AlphaGo, yes. AlphaGo, not GoPro. GoPro is a company. So AlphaGo, yeah. So AlphaGo, in AI was made to play a human for the first time, and I know a lot of people know this story, but I'll still repeat it. It's that the artificial intelligence was able to sort of make a move which which was never played. That move was never done by any human being. So it was a completely out of the box kind of idea. So even with what is happening with generative AI today, we are going to go into a future where there will be a two-person, three-person big media house that will come out, a big content house that will come out. Because, what used to be a job of an entire 100-member media and entertainment company is now possibly done with a few prompts on Sora. So now, you could essentially think about this as a time where even if you learnt how to use these tools that are so widely available and available for free. Okay. I will definitely talk about the other side of it, but now all I want to focus on is the fact that if you use these tools today and learn to sort of augment it for your own personal daily productive needs, you are going to be ahead of 99% of the people globally. And if you just focus on learning all of these tools, um, you don't even need to sort of learn how to program. And like I told you in an initial part, the only program that I can probably write is a Hello World program, which also I don't even know if I can write a C++ program anymore. But 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 I can now have AI or a large language model, be it Anthropic, be it GPT-4, be it GPT 3.5, write me a full blown program and tell me how I could compile it and execute it. So it has made a programmer out of a non-programmer. It has made a, you could ask it questions on law, you can ask it questions on, or you could set up your own schedules. It just is becoming your own personal assistant. I am currently working on getting myself a AI personal assistant which will answer my cell phone calls, and I am in the process of making that so that every time I miss a call, instead of it going to my voicemail, there will be a personal assistant who will answer it before it even reaches me. Okay. And it will only notify me if I have told that these are the 5 people that I want to get a call from. The rest of it you can handle yourself, and send me an email. So essentially, all the spam calls that you get, okay, your agent, which is an artificial intelligence agent, potentially a man or a woman or whoever you like, or maybe Angelina Jolie, if you may, can have that kind of voice, and you can essentially have them be your voice assistant. So using this technology to sort of your advantage is what I would recommend very, very strongly. And IT services companies are going at it full blown. They know the opportunity, they understand it. Um, and there are, you can, if you just look at any of the websites of the TCS, Infosys, this is IT services, right? You look at TCS, Infosys, you look at Accenture, which is technology services consulting, you look at Capgemini, you look at Deloitte, you look at any of the people's website, and you will find enough and more white papers or even presentations on how these companies are working towards growing their AI practice.
Right.
And I must tell you that that AI is not new. It has been around for some time. It is just that the new part of it is generative, which is the the part where you can produce content, not just not just from sort of querying it, but now you can generate like visuals, graphics, and actual sort of videos. So
Videos, yeah.
yeah. So opportunity. It's not a threat. And if you are an engineer, who has done a bunch of, I'll tell you, people who have done computer science, who've learned AI, they are not very, and you speak to them, they are like, yeah, I know this. What's so great about this? Because it's not a big deal for them, because this has been around for a while. It has just become mass available today to everyone, and you will be surprised that the Chinese have banned it in their own sort of country. If you think of it as a India versus China, or even if you don't think of it from a competitive point of view, even if you think of it from a very nationalistic point of view, the opportunity for the youth of India to capitalize on this is immense. You will be you Yeah, you can make apps now on using some of these. You can make websites, uh, um and essentially,
You can do anything that you could do in a desktop previously by typing codes. Now you can just type English and do it as equally well.
absolutely. Say for example, you love the website of Apple, right? And you prompt one of the large language models and say, hey, look at this website, and give me a website for my consulting business at Aditya Mukherjee, and or give me a website for Clarity, Joy and Success. It could do that, and you will, and with the same theme. So what exactly, and while you may say, okay, there is a lot of still a lot of advances that need to be made, those are being made. You have to find the right kind of tools. Like, say for example, Aditya, one of the things I love doing in my own time, okay, in my own pastime, and my favorite thing to do is to sort of either go for a long walk with a podcast, or for a short run with a short talk or a short podcast. So I end up doing either or. Okay. And there are lots of times I have a lot of these favorites that I follow across platforms. So but these days I am like, I don't have time to even listen to the whole podcast. So what I do is, I will take the YouTube link, drop it on a YouTube video to text generator, okay, and the entire transcript is available for me, and then I will take that transcript and drop it in a model, be either Anthropic or GPT-4, and now you have 4.0, which is phenomenal, by the way. I'll drop it there, and I will ask it to give me a 3-minute, 4-minute summary.
Right. That's how it is.
That's how the cookie crumbles now. So
Fantastic. So I think what you wanted to summarize is basically, I remember a story that I heard from some other great person. I'd just like to share with you.
Please.
He said that something happened in the Mazgaon dock in Mumbai when the automated cranes and all these things were coming. So the laborers, the coolies there, they revolted that when the cranes and all these things, the loaders come, where will our jobs go? And at that time, one ship for unloading took around 24-27 days. And now ships are getting unloaded overnight. And employment has not decreased. Same happened when, say, a person, Mr. Narayan Murthy, met with a very renowned chief minister of a certain state. I would not name the state or the person for certain reasons. So he went there and said that let us make an IT hub here. But that guy said that, okay, but the problem is I love laborers, I love human beings, he was in love in a certain way. Maybe the expression always, see, sometimes you love somebody, but the expression ends up harming that same person. So he said that if computers come, the jobs will go. So that guy, instead of making an IT hub there, he shifted to south. And now Bangalore, Chennai, Mangalore, these places have become IT hubs instead of that place becoming an IT hub, which it could have. So I will not get into politics by naming these things. I think you understand which state I am talking about. So yeah. So I think the same kind of thing is happening even now, that teachers, professors, everyone is panicking. Software developers are panicking that what will happen to our job if an AI sort of comes and takes it up. I think more opportunities will come up. And I completely agree with you. We do not know the future. Let's see it unfold rather than panic about it and become activists, so-called activists.
No, absolutely, Aditya, and I think I can guess what that state is, but the more important bit is it's not so straightforward, yeah, Aditya. The thing is that the energy needs of AI, we're not seeing that. Every click that I make here, or to generate any kind of content, to use any of those tokens, the amount of energy needed. Okay, if you are telling me AI has to go exponential, the energy needs are much more significant. So there are lots of challenges with AI. AI is not there yet where it's going to take anyone's jobs. Not yet. It is. I don't think it is happening even in the next year or so also.
Actually, Tarunji, I had a discussion regarding this energy consumption with the Google SDE. So he is one of the senior persons there. He was posting things regarding this only, that the energy consumption concern. So I asked him one thing, that okay, the crypto revolution happened, and I was completely ignorant about it in 2011. So that also complaints came that to mine out these coins, the amount of energy that is coming, can blockchain be scaled up to mass use cases? So that question was there. Activism happened around that also. ESG issues were highlighted there also. And there are certain other crypto issues also, that whether the powers that be will allow crypto to become the de facto currency in the world, because that becomes a competition to the current reserve currency. Those aspects were there. So I asked him about this, and he said with one line, compute is the new currency. So I was fascinated by his answer, that it is again becoming a commoditized version of the thing. What we are thinking AI to be a very creative aspect, that it is creating new stuff, it is intuitive and all, but at the core of it, again, it is getting commoditized. Those with the highest amount of processors or energy resources will be dominating. So that disappointed me a little bit, actually.
So that's so true. There is nothing like decentralization. Okay, it's a concept that is that's I think we should accept that. That if you live in a capitalistic society, a society where anytime value is created, value will accrue to where value is being created, where value is being generated. And so while data is the new oil and compute is the new currency, I totally yeah, absolutely. And it goes from there where what happened with what is happening with crypto. The biggest problem with crypto is that it never got mass adoption. See, the real problem with crypto has always been, how exactly does one hold custody of digital assets, right? I can tell you this with lots of confidence, because I know lots of crypto developers, I know lots of people who are in the cryptocurrency space. They have the problem of custody is impossible to solve for even the most technically adept. Okay, I will not name a friend. He's my batchmate from school. He is today in the Bay Area working for one of the FANG companies. He's right up there, director of engineering, which means he has teams of people working for him. And recently, him and we were chatting, and he said, "Yeah, Tarun, I lost my seed phrase, and now I don't have access to my Bitcoin wallet." Okay. Yeah, so I don't have access to it, and I was like, you probably find it somewhere. Look for it. I'm sure you put it somewhere. He's like, I remember I wrote it on a piece of paper when I was setting up the wallet, and then as promised, I burnt it, and I don't know where it is anymore. And in that wallet, I have significant amounts of BTC, and one Bitcoin is almost worth 50 lakh rupiah, right? So in that sense, if you go to see, right, the problem of energy and crypto is very different from the problem of AI and energy needs.
Okay.
Anyways, so but
Here you are saying that the asset security is also a problem.
yeah, this is a
Here
huge.
that is at least not there.
There's other problems. Here the other problem is that if you like, say for example, you are editing your resume on ChatGPT, you are giving ChatGPT access to every data possible. Right? He knows what school you went to, what grades you got, what background you have, what experience you have. It's no more private. The more you prompt, the more you make the model aware, the more value accrues to it. And there is not. I mean, I won't say there is anything wrong with it. As long as it helps you solve for a sense of purpose. But remember that the only reason why you are given anything for free is because they are accruing some value out of you. Now, say for example, you are given free stuff online is because they are using your attention. By the way, your attention today is as a human being, your attention has the biggest value you can ever sort of accrue. Why? Because attention means your time. Your time is you cannot value it, right? You can choose that time to spend with your parents, with your partner, with your child, with your friends, and those moments can be so much more enriching versus sitting in front of a YouTube or Instagram and surfing through reels. Okay. It's and I'm saying this out of very, very clean story. I have an Instagram account, I have a Facebook account like everyone else, but I don't log into it. In fact, my name on all of these is all different. I realized very, very early on, and this was back in 2018, 2019, 2017, is that they are stealing my attention with everything and more. And the minute you fall for this reels, and you will not realize, but couple of hours of your time are stolen. Okay, and it's mind-blowing addictive. What it does is, and Aditya, I think you and I spoke about this maybe offline, but we did speak about how people have like 7 seconds of attention span, and these reels tend to be in the 18 to 30 seconds kind of window, where what it does is it gives you a hook for a few seconds, and then it makes you want to be there. And then as your attention starts to diminish, it gives you another one with the similar hook, And if you realize, after a while, the kind of content that is shown on these reels is exactly what you have been attuned to seeing on some of this. It learns. The model is learning what you like to see. Your your iPhone, every time you pick it up, it is sort of giving you, it is sort of sensing where your eyes are going through the whole scheme of things. And as we go into the future, I'm fascinated by technology, so I use technology a lot, and so I ended up buying the Vision Pro really early on. And I was sort of fascinated by how you could use your eyes now to make selections on a screen, to almost work without actually having a keyboard, without actually even having a mouse, and using your literally like your it's yeah, your eye movement and your fingertips to sort of make selections. Because if you know the Vision Pro, you could select an app on it by doing this. This is the gesture. So essentially the technology now is watching you in a way like Big Brother described it in 1984. So I don't want to take this to a negative tangent, but I just want to say that please be mindful of your energy, your attention, and what you are watching. And there are there's enough and more evidence out there which says that you become a culmination. Everyone knows you are the best of your 5 best friends. Everyone also knows you become the best of what is around you, but you become a culmination of what you eat, what you think, and what you consume. And what you consume is really content today. So it is, and this takes me back to the question you asked me, which said, what is your tips to someone who are young, who do not have that clarity, who've not seen success, who do not have that joy in their life? What is it that they can do? My sense is that find 5 of your favorite motivational speakers, stroke thought leaders, stroke mentors, find them virtually and just follow them. The more time you spend following these 5 people, the more closer you are going to become to all of these 5. Now, those 5 could be whoever, right? You could say a Lex Friedman, you could say a Joe Rogan, you could say Aditya Mukherjee, you could say whoever, right? Like you find whoever your favorite people are, follow those 5 people, and suddenly you will notice that your life is moving towards the best of the 5. And there's ample amount of sort of evidence to this, and there's science. It's not woo woo, and I can talk through the science in a few seconds. Women who have erratic menstrual cycles find other women who have constant proper menstrual cycles, and then they sort of become, the more time they spend together, they get in. I don't know if you know this, but they have these therapy groups you can join, and then eventually as they become closer and as they become friends, as they talk, their menstrual cycles align. And then you may say, how does that happen? It is actually not very hard to sort of, it's not woo woo, it's science, because essentially this takes me back to my engineering days, because electromagnetic wave theory, or this is the modern form of how theory is defined. Every time electrons or protons pass through a wire or any kind of substance, they create a electromagnetic wave around it. When energy impulses pass from your brain to your spine, which is essentially your central nervous system, and what is called as, they jump synapse, it's exactly the same sort of energy which is passing through a wire. Okay, it's electrical impulse. That electrical impulse creates a wave around us. So the reason why a lot of these spiritual people, you can feel their energy from a distance, is because their aura is so broad and so bright that that they can engulf you even from a far off distance. So to that extent, right, the minute you start vibrating closer to the global universal frequency, okay, and the frequency of creation, especially, and our Vedas talk about it, where the frequency of Om is the frequency of sound, is and it's measured on a tuning fork at 136.1 hertz. If you can, there are sets of 6 hours, 12 hours, 18 hours available on YouTube, on Spotify, on 136.1 hertz. Even if you don't want to listen to anyone and you just want to tune that on at your background while you are sitting in your house, and you let that sort of frequency into your house, it not only reprograms you, it reprograms your family, it reprograms your siblings. The sound of 136.1 hertz is scientifically proven to sort of reduce your ability to breathe. I mean, your breath becomes slower, your heart rate is much more in control, taking you farther away from anxiety. So there are lots of these smaller things you can do in your daily life, which will just throw these other thoughts away from, any kind of negative thoughts away from you.
Smaller things with the biggest impacts. And Taruji, actually, what I personally found also, I so much resonate with you. The word actually that comes in mind is synchronicity. I think the word is synchronicity. And what I found is through online associations with people I find as successful or I find as spiritually evolved. Actually, after months or a few years of rewatching the same people over and over that you want to emulate or are inspired by, you feel you are surrounded by them only. The other people seem to have, even if they are locally, they are sometimes coming near you and you are interacting with them physically nearly, but your distance with them is far away than compared to those whom you are relating to. So you cannot if you want or if you try, you can get rid of that victimhood of your surrounding situations and use the windows to find a window.
Absolutely. And what you said resonates with me also very strongly, because I also have my favorites, and when I listen to them, I'm automatically put in a state of joy, because I get to learn from them, and a large portion of my speech today, of the way I communicate, is also a function of whom I listen to, right? Whom I listen to, what I read, what I consume. My choice of words are always going to be the things that I choose to consume.
Correct.
And And वो कहते हैं ना जब भी when you have a little bit of tamiz and tehzeeb in your life, you automatically start to sort of attract abundance. And
Yes.
you know, and I think I told you this when we first connected, but for me, the more I see life, the more I see um, me achieving even the smaller goals that I may have on a regular basis, be it my fitness goals, be it my goals of sharing love with my own parents or my friends, or even few things where I am sort of involved today, where I want to give to society in ways that like just one of the things I did recently, and I'm so it really excites me, was to go and talk to young school children who are orphaned, and to be able to sort of eat a meal with them, and to sort of wish them great success in their life. Things like these sort of make me more spiritual. I feel like the ability to be able to share this with someone is real success, and it really gives me the ability to sort of be more spiritual from there, because I'm like, yes, I want to do more of this. Yes, I want to be able to be of service. This reminds me, Aditya, of one of the greatest investors of our times, and Charlie Munger said this. Okay, so I think few years ago, someone asked Charlie, and they said, "Hey Charlie, what would you like to have written on your tombstone?" On your when you are when you pass into the light, what do you want to have written? So he said, I want to have written, I tried to be helpful.
Wow.
Okay, and I'm sure that is what is now written on his tombstone, since he is no longer in physical presence with us, but his thoughts, his ideas, and his and his depth of knowledge, his wisdom continues to live on. His legacy is way more stronger than ever before. So much so that this year at the Berkshire Hathaway conference, they had a seat left open for Charlie, although he was not there in person. And Warren Buffett was almost, he was answering a question, and he said, and Charlie, to realize he's no longer there, and to which he says, it's out of habit that I have to say this. And things like these, right? Like, the fact of the matter is, these people have created insane amount of wealth for themselves, their shareholders, the people that they have sort of employed. But if you see at the core of it, they had a friendship which kept them sort of there. They enjoyed doing these things together. So and this is something, Aditya, I learned a little later in life. I should have learned this earlier, but देर आए दुरुस्त आए. पैसा कमाना सब कुछ नहीं होता है. Money is not the only function by which you will be judged by. Your success is not a function of money. And I know there are lots of greats who have said, first get rich and then give talks, or then try to be which is true, but again, rich is your mindset, rich is your thought process, rich is your ability to sort of your ability to feel abundant, and your ability to say, hey, I am thriving, okay, is what is really rich. And so through all of this, while while you can, while money is a function of, money is energy, really. So the more value you create on this planet, the more energy that will come to you, the more money that will come to you. So don't focus on money, focus on being helpful, focus on creating value, focus on being useful, and so focus on building a business or being in a place which makes you feel like happy when you are providing that value, when you are being useful, when you are being useful to society. So that is when that real energy will come to you, and it will come, and the thing is, you also realize after a while that the more you give in society, the more you will get. By that I mean, money as a form of energy, the more you put back into society, the more it will reverberate and come back to you. Of course, if you put it through things that are gambling tables and like dream 11s and trying to play fantasy leagues of the world, then that's not the appropriate thing. But anything else, you should be, anything else where you are even consuming, right? If you are consuming, the more and America thrives on this. America is the hyper consumer economy of the world, so much so that they did away from living in families together, and having their children leave at the age of 18 so that they can create housing demand, so that they can create demand for washing machines, so that they can create demand for TV, so that they can create new demand for washing powder, for toothpaste, for things like these, right? So yeah, there are lots of ways corporations globally are ensuring that you continue to consume to your death.
This consumer oriented or perpetual growth oriented approach, don't you think there is a cost to it also? Like the planetary cost, ecological
The
cost is
cost is
there.
evident,
But I'm talking about the socio-cultural or the psychological cost that the human beings are going to be there at the end of the day after a
That
few
is
generations of that.
But Aditya, that is happening, no? The social element is there. For the first time in history, X of any good cause, okay, X of any good cause, the world is going through something called depopulation or population degrowth, if there is a word like degrowth. There is no word like degrowth, but a population decline, or rather a future in which there is going to be a decline in population, and India may be a sort of a odd place out in that sense. But think of all the 30-year-old men and women you know today who don't have either a partner or even children. So that is the social cost of it. People have money, people have great social, people have social media, social networks, but they are still alone. It is the irony of our times. It is the irony of the age we live in, and somehow to break out of that, the solution to break out of that is to actually involve yourself in society, is to do the things that sort of is to go out and meet that friend, is to go out and spend that time with your parents. It is to sort of indulge your siblings, to meet your cousins. That is the fabric of humans is being social. And the social bonding is what releases oxytocin. It is a highly important hormone in regulating your longevity and your growth. And Aditya, I read a phenomenal research paper And again, I must tell you, I don't read research papers like the whole thing and stuff. It's not possible for me to do it. I'm not that technically advanced. I like to read research papers for realizing their outcomes and the way they do studies. These are the two things why I read research papers. Okay, and that literature usually is very dry, and so I am using technology to my benefit. I ask, some of these models, I throw the PDF onto the model and I am telling them, give me a summary of this in 2 lines, in 3 lines. This is how I read research papers. Okay, this is a small trick for most people. And I read a research paper which said, if you want to enhance your longevity as a human being, the more people you have in your life that you can share everything from your joys to your success to your failures, the more you will enhance your life. That means anyone who has more than 2 or 3 people they can share everything with as an individual, they tend to live 5 to 7 years longer than the person who has 1 or none.
But do you think, Tarunji, there are genuinely 10 people you can get with whom you can share everything and know that they will be not looking at it in a different angle? I'm just asking you
you don't need
people here, they have 200 friends or 2,000 friends on Facebook, but how many are real friends? That's a real question.
Exactly. So the point is that you don't need 10. You need 2 or 3. Everyone, if you have parents, you already have that too. Okay, if you have a loving girlfriend, wife, partner, you have the 3rd person, and if you genuinely have a best friend, you have the 4th person. Okay, if you really have made, and this is what I mean by investing in the right people, right? Like if you go out there and invest the right energy and attention with the right people, you will find those people. So I'm not saying you should have 10. I'm not saying that. I'm just pointing out to a study where it talks through longevity. And longevity today is such an important subject, right? Because degenerative diseases as you age are becoming more and more prevalent because of the diets, because of the lifestyles, because of who we are becoming in society, which means our diet is really nutrient poor. Our lifestyles are highly stressful. We are spending so much time with work and so little time with sort of ourselves and our family. And also we have these deep desires of being ultra rich, of driving that fancy car, of dating a Deepika Padukone or a Priyanka Chopra, and everyone wants to sort of go towards that. So if you are going to sort of narrow it down, all of these things are degenerative, and degenerative diseases like very well. Diabetics are the largest cause of problems in India. Is a huge issue with diabetes, right? It's a huge issue with cardiac arrest. Lots of people who are young are working on fitness, are ending up having cardiac arrests in gyms, and I don't mean to sort of say anything to anyone in particular, but these are the real world problems, and if you realize the density of nutrition from 1900s to now, although food has become more abundantly available, the density of nutrition is just going down by the second. And Aditya, you know what the funny part is? In our era, in this extreme age of information that we live in, we still don't know what food type is good for us and what is not, because every day new research, new study gets thrown at us, saying, oh, sugar's great, oh no, this is bad, oh no, let's do sugar free, oh no, sugar free is this, oh no. Oh, protein shakes are bad, oh, protein shakes are not bad, but you know, you could do baby Cerelac food, oh, but baby Cerelac food is not bad. So you know what I mean? It's a complete drama. So the solution to and you know and this is a subject which I am very sort of, it's very close to me because of things that have happened around me. But man is actually not meant to even have atta, which is wheat or refined flour, because this is a industrial era creation. The idea of and somehow now that you know that the awareness of gluten and the awareness of dairy are becoming more and more real, you are realizing that that food, stress, lifestyle are huge concerns with how people's lifespans will look like. And there is literature available on this, Aditya. The two people I would point to, especially on literature around this, one I would definitely point to, you know, to our spiritual saints in India, who live on a one. Well, I don't know if you heard of this. Again, this is one of the Osho sayings. He's saying, एक बार जो खाए वो योगी, दो बार जो खाए वो मनुष्य, तीन बार जो खाए वो रोगी. Okay, this is one of the greatest Osho sayings, and it resonates very well. You can't, 3 square meals a day concept is absolutely wrong in my current state of knowing or being awareness. I could correct myself to you know 2 months from now if I read some other research, because that's how I've been slapped through my journey of knowing all of this. But the two people I'd like to point to, one is a guy called Brian Johnson. Okay, he runs something called Blueprint. Okay, and his only motto is don't die. He is a centimillionaire. And he spends $1.5 million on his year trying to look younger. He's a 47-year-old who has reversed his age, and most of his biomarkers are in his 20s now. He looks as young as his 18-19-year-old boy. Okay, and he talks about sleep, and sleep in a way where there's something right here in your early part of the, you know, your between your throat and your lungs. There is it's the size of the fist by the time you're 19-20 years old. It's called the thymus gland. Okay, it regulates something called the growth hormone in your body. And I'm not a doctor, neither am I a scientist, but this is all my learning. And the growth hormone is secreted when you are in sleep. Okay, and so what he says is that having restful night sleep is one of the most important remedies to sort of slowing down. And this is essentially what our yogis have been saying. They are saying slow down your breathing, slow down your breath. Okay, आज के दिन में वो कब होता है? जब इंसान सोता है. ठीक है, otherwise it's not possible. So in that sense, if you go to see, there is a lot of merit to balanced diet, reasonably good exercise, and a restful night sleep, along with a healthy dose of being social with your friends and your loved ones. It's an important topic for anyone who is trying to live a balanced life, anyone who is trying to sort of enjoy balance. And this, I'll just leave you with one thought from Osho, who's one of the greatest who lived on this planet in terms of independent thinkers. And he said, on achieving balance in life, a little foolishness is necessary to enjoy life. Okay, a little foolishness is necessary to enjoy life, but a little wisdom is also needed to avoid the errors of life. So in a nutshell, he's summed it up so well.
It so resonates with me because I tell you, when I was in college, I had certain events happening around me and very close to me, or you can say around me, that turned me towards meditation and stuff. And the first thing that I got access to was Osho's meditation methods, a few meditation methods. And I became so attracted by this man that I actually, in my college days, I had an obsession for playing NFS Most Wanted. So I really did well in that game. But what I used to do is I muted that sound of the race cars and I would listen to Osho while playing the game. So for hours together. That's how, that was one of my me times, you can say, or my yeah, it's strange for a young guy of early 20s, but that's how I spent a lot of time during my college days.
You're still in your early 20s. What are you
Not
saying?
in my early 20s now. I am in my, I did my college lot earlier.
We'll leave the age out of the equation because age is just a number.
Yeah. But yeah, I loved, actually I still love, but I used to love this man a lot.
Yeah. He became, incidentally, posthumously, he's attained more fame, or he's resonated so strongly posthumously. And one of the things which he talks about, which I want to share, is that someone asked him, you have all of these luxury cars, these luxury watches, these great clothes, how exactly are you a saint by doing this? He's like, I don't own any of this. I just wear them because I like them. It makes me feel good. And there is nothing wrong in enjoying greatest luxuries in life. And I am also not attached to them. So his idea was, you can enjoy everything in your life, but don't get so attached to it that it becomes the cause of your misery, right? And this is the same man whose story begins when he is born in a village in Madhya Pradesh, and he is given birth in their house because they obviously don't have money to take them to the hospital for his delivery, his birth, and they do not even have the money to give this child a proper clothing. So the neighbor's parda, okay, or curtain is used to wrap him when he's born. This is that same child who goes on to become the greatest of them all. So much so different from the life of Gautam Buddha, who was born in luxury as a prince, who till the age of 21 did not know anything but abundance and had to go the other way completely towards austere life, to give up everything from his luxury of his palace to his clothes, to his comforts or joys of having a absolute fulfilled life, to finding enlightenment. And the funny part is that both, and I'm not comparing Gautam Buddha to Osho because they are both two independent, very very great and evolved souls, and they are really really some people, they are really souls who've created massive impact on people's lives. But think of it this way, right? Both of them, after Gautam Buddha had enlightenment and he moved away from his extreme austere measures to finding a harmony or balance of eating some food and also resting, he lost followers. Similarly, after Osho achieved his state of of his extreme nirvana, and he started doing these these he had the Rajneesh Puram and all of that, he lost followers. But if you see posthumously, both of these people have had a renaissance of sorts. And of course, Gautam Buddha has lasted for now 1,000 years, right? And more maybe.
2000, I think he was 500 years before Christ, so 2,500 years.
2,500 years, yes. So forever, right? Forever, because and some of his teachings are so pertinent even today. Right, his teachings on one of the things that Buddhism talks about is how life is dukkha, and it is important for one to break away from the cycle of life and birth. He talks about a lot of those things, and somehow I feel like. I do resonate a lot with some of the spiritual teachings of Buddha. I just don't know if I have the strength to today to give up every material pleasure that I am enjoying, and to live a life of extreme austerity. I don't know if that is something that I can do. I have never tried it. I've never tried to be a monk, but I've debated this, and I've asked a lot of spiritual people this question, and a lot of them have said that, and the Bhagavad Gita talks about it. Manzil ek hai, raste anek hai.
Beautiful. I think the discussion couldn't culminate at a more beautiful juncture than this. Are you into some spiritual sadhana or something? Like, I feel like you are very much into all these things. Maybe not practicing, but mentally you are in touch with this zone and all.
I mean, I have been given a mantra, so I chant.
Wow.
Yeah. I do spend a lot of my time reading spiritual literature, and of course listening to a lot of people on spirituality. I also end up reading, and this is something that I have sort of developed over the last year or so. I always had interest in astronomy, and now I have interest in astrology and Jyotish per se. So I do end up following a gentleman who lives in Dehradun, a gentleman who's very very famous on YouTube. He's of course my guru. I'm learning from him. I'm doing a course from him, but I don't think he knows me. He's never, or I've ever spoken to him. His name is Dipanshu Giri. He runs a channel called Lunar Astro. Okay, he is a robotics engineer turned Jyotish, and he's one of the person I follow, I also follow. I do follow a bit of Deepak Chopra, a bit of Shri M. I'm also a fan of the stuff that Beer Biceps, Ranveer Alabadia's channel. He has some very interesting, intriguing guests that he brings on.
Okay.
So just regular stuff, yeah, Aditya.
So it was a fantastic experience for me, Tarunji, sharing time with you. And we covered, I think, a lot of topics today, ranging from spirituality to social life to AI. I think it couldn't get better than this. I think we had some discussions regarding sales and marketing also. So it is because you had such diverse experiences yourself that you could bring out so many things within a span of, say, 1.5 2 hours. That's why it could happen, and I am fascinated by that. And I would like to have 10 more discussions with you, and we can have, I think, 10 more discussions with you, and it will not end. The topics will not end. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you for having me. You are so kind, and I wish you a lot of success. I wish you health. I wish you prosperity, and I wish that you are able to fulfill your goals and your aspiration. Most importantly, since you are an educator and you are a guru yourself, I must thank you for trying to throw light on difficult subjects. I know for a fact that you will have lots and lots of success with everything that you touch. So I wish you congratulations and all the very best.
Thank you so much, Tarunji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of love. Thank you.
Lots of love to you too. Alright, see you, bro. Thank you. Please be well.
Sure.
See you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, sir.
Bye. Bye.